Hey Internet, just want to talk a little bit about my Keytar today and using it in conjunction with not only my Korg Kronos and really any keyboard, but also with the CME wireless MIDI system that I have. And just, some other general tips and tricks, so to speak. I'm filming right now with a GoPro Hero 3. It's on the medium setting because I just feel like narrow is a little too narrow for the head strap when I'm at close range like this. So excuse the little bit of that GoPro fisheye effect. Just, live with it. Okay, so first of all, this case, always protect your instruments. I'm a big fan of hard cases. I have another hard case over there for my Kronos, and it weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, and I'm okay with that because I trust that it's alive. I want to say real quick that most of these things also apply to the AX-7. I have an AX-7 over there all torn apart for a client right now. It needs a new ribbon cable, unfortunately. That should be here soon, but I was able to test out most of these things before I tore it apart, so most of these things will apply to the AX-7 as well. Without further ado, here's my AX-1 with a poorly done custom paint job. A few things right off the bat. It's painted black with some purple sparklies here and there to give it more of an intergalactic nebula type look that I'm kind of into and my band Sarion is into. So, I thought it was appropriate. And I did a pretty subpar okay job, some paint's chipping off here and there, but I kind of feel less bad about it because when I did a little more research into, other guitarists who have painted their Keytars, theirs are, the same if not worse in terms of quality. If you do plan to paint your Keytar, take out everything, and I mean everything. Don't just bag up the inside. Just take apart the whole dang thing. If you can't take it apart, have a tech take it apart for you. If you're in Los Angeles, feel free to contact me. I'll take it all apart for you, and then you could paint it yourself. So yeah, I just took a lot of pictures. Saw where all the buttons were, and just remarked them with silver Sharpie. On the corner, you'll see this thing. This is pretty not important. This is a GoPro mount. So if I want to strap my GoPro to the Keytar, that's quite fun to do. So that's there. And it's got a little bit of electrical tape, even though it has its own adhesive back. It's just there, just so if it falls off in the middle of a gig or something, I can just quickly rip it off without it hitting the floor first. Other than that, you also notice that this key right here looks a little jacked up. It was kind of like that since I got it, and then one day, unfortunately, right before a show, I, kind of lifted it up by accident, and it just completely broke off. And it was just like a little peg, and I was able to, once again, not very well, just kind of glue it back in there with some JB Weld. And that's really strong adhesive if you've never used it. So I highly recommend that if something like this breaks. It did take 24 hours to set, and I guess I just didn't do the best job setting it in the perfect, it wasn't perfectly straight up when I reset it. It was just a little diagonal, so it ended up like this. But as you can see, the key is perfectly usable. It's a little louder than the other keys, but it still works just fine, and I heartily use this note anyway. I usually am playing, from this B onward. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, another little trick, the power button, if you are smart, you will tape it down when you're using your Keytar. It is the biggest pain in the ass when that thing turns off in the middle of the show, and then you get hung notes and everything because the MIDI doesn't know how to handle it. So yeah, let me turn it on real quick. So just nudge it over, reset the tape a little, and voila, it's on. Another thing here is the strap. This is the cheapest strap you can get from Guitar Center, and I'm perfectly happy with it. I can picture a better and longer strap, and I'm not sure what just happened to my orientation here. I think it actually just reversed itself, but more on that later, I guess. Wait, is it like that? No, I think it's supposed to be twisted around. Anyway, so this is a little cell phone case that I got in Chinatown for like $2, and I cut it a little so it'll fit a little better. It needs to be resewed, probably by someone who actually knows how to sew. And this is where I keep my WIDI for the strap. I used to have it taped on, but changing batteries was kind of a pain, so I decided to go this route, and I like the way it works out. So this is the CME WIDI wireless MIDI system. This is the X8. For keyboards that are USB MIDI capable with a USB Type A port, you can actually get the XU and pair it with this. And believe it or not, if you're in America, it's actually only like $20 more expensive to just get two X8s for a duplex system, and that'll just open up, you know, a different world to be able to use all keyboards, you know, some that aren't USB compatible, with your Keytar, a wireless MIDI system. So you should really get two X8s instead of two XUs, or an XU and an X8. But you know, if you have to get the different ones, an X8 and an XU, you know, that's on you. It'll work out pretty much the same, so this guide will apply either way. So I have it, you know, just kind of bot's job, just cut up everywhere so I can turn the thing on and off. And okay, so another thing is, a lot of people ask about strap locks. When you buy your Keytar, don't take out the strap buttons. This Roland AX-7 is actually on the bench, not just for the ribbon cable, but also because the guy unscrewed it, and the washer that holds it in the back fell off and just so happened to be touching the two wires for the battery, and subsequently the batteries exploded inside of his Keytar because they were shorting. So you really don't take them out. Just buy shallower strap locks and put them on your strap, and they'll fit right on. Kaboom, you're done. This applies to the AX-7. I've heard it also applies to the AX synth. So please, I really hope you watch this before you buy your Keytar, because it's just, that was really bad for him, and I feel really bad for him. And you can just avoid it. Just don't take them out. And if you do take it out, you're going to hear a big rattle inside, and don't think the rattle's okay. This guy learned the hard way, unfortunately. So make sure that you get that checked out by a tech and get it professionally opened up. And there is two pieces that will fall out. There's the bolt, and there is also a washer. And the washer was actually the culprit in this case. So make sure that you get those. So other than that, just put the strap on. Make sure you put the other end on backwards, so to speak. And if you plan on playing with two hands, make sure you put it into this strap button and not this one. This one, if you try to play with two hands, it's possible that the Keytar will go over your shoulder and fall. So you'll be better off with this one. It gives a better range, so to speak. Okay, so next thing is the MIDI cable. I got these from Radio Shack for $9, I believe, for 3, so I keep some backups with me. I like the blue one for now. And, you know, I just wrap it under the strap, put it into the MIDI port, if it'll ever go in, and then just wrap it around to the WIDI, wrap it around a few times, then it just goes right through the case. And yeah, I can just open this up and turn on the X8. I put it on the very first one. So I cut a little hole for the light. It helps a little bit, even though you really can't see it once I button everything up. And just so you know, this button over here that you can kind of see, it also kind of works as a panic button. So if you do get some hung notes, if you accidentally turned your Keytar off or something in the middle of playing and you get some hung notes, press this and then press it again while not playing anything, and it should unhang your notes. Oh, sorry, I still needed this. This is a little camera case that holds my other X8 for the Kronos side of things. So since I'm using USB and I can't really interchange these, I have it, you know, conveniently labeled USB and 2. So 2 is the actual routing mode that it's in. It's going from USB, it's receiving MIDI from here and then transferring it through USB. And that will also power the Kronos. Now, this guide would pretty much not be necessary if you power both with AA batteries. At the moment, I'm only powering one with the batteries. This one's USB powered. Saves you a little money. I'm already using 6 batteries here, and I'm using 2 more batteries here. That's 8 batteries, and you know, that's a lot to change every few months. So USB is convenient. But I do keep extra batteries with me in case I have a breakdown or something and I need to use someone else's keyboard. So I have this all marked up in case anything ever moves or someone else is setting up for me. And it just plugs right into the Kronos. So the problem with this off the bat, once you plug this in, assuming you had the same setup as me, and you're powering it through USB, you know, luckily it just turned green as soon as I plugged in, which means that they are both connected. You'll see that it's green on this end too. It's happened to me before where I've done this and it's still red, in which case I actually switch this one on and off until they read each other. If that doesn't work, I'll just unplug it from here until they detect each other. Also, I should probably show you, I have my channel set. I think that's actually default. Pretty sure that's the default way the channels are set, but don't quote me on that. But that's how my channels are set. So the problem, like I've, you know, sidetracked a million times by now, is that if you're plugged in through USB, this is most likely what you're going to get. Let me put on just a string sound. Okay, so the problem you're most likely to get as soon as you turn your Keytar on is that you won't get notes from certain things, if at all. And then this side will just start hanging notes. And, you know, like I said, there's a panic button over here. And the way around that is actually to have it transmit on 2 different MIDI channels. I don't know why it works like that, and it's actually the fault of that end, because if you have it plugged in with just a MIDI cable and batteries, everything is going to work as expected. You can be on 1 MIDI channel, and nothing will happen, ever. It will just work perfectly. But this way actually works out. So this is actually transmitting on channel 1 and channel 16 at the same time. So depending on the keyboard you have, this may not be a problem. When I'm in program mode, it's not a problem at all. When I get into combi mode, things get a little more interesting. So if I just make any combi, you know, just any blank combi, you'll actually hear there are 2 pianos playing when I play the Keytar. So what you have to do is mute channel 16. And so now we have 1 less track available to us when we're using the Keytar in this configuration. And you know, when you have 16 track combis, that's not really a big deal. So that's what you have to do. If you're having that problem, you have to set your Keytar to use upper and lower. Like I said, this also applies to AX-7, except the button over there is over here. So you make it on upper and lower, and then through the manual, read your manual, you will discover that you can set the upper part to play channel 1 and then the lower part to play channel 16, or vice versa, and then everything will work out just fine, no hung notes and no stupidity. So now let's talk about patch changing. On the AX-7 this works better. So over here, I switch my patches through here, but if you look on my Kronos, it's not receiving any patch change at all. This is totally 100% intentional. So what these are doing, like I said, upper and lower, upper is 1, lower is 16, or vice versa, I forget which it is, but the one that's on 1 changes for the first 4 patches. So this is actually transmitting on channel 1, transmitting on channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, all of those plus 16. So on the Kronos, of course it's set to channel 1, and in the MIDI menu I have program changes disabled. What does that do? Well, since I use setlist mode and I step through all my patches and I don't want to deal with, you know, resetting this to 1 and then seeing this reset to 1 and having this a fiasco, I have it set so if I have a combi, for example, I'm trying to get one. I know there's one here that has a whole bunch. Okay, so this is the part I actually play on my Kronos. It's not the part, but I got a hung note. It's from earlier. If you have a hung note earlier, it'll carry on sometimes, so that's why you gotta make sure you have everything set correctly. On the Kronos, it kind of has a weird panic button if you initialize song. And okay, so now that's gone. So I actually use this patch on the Kronos, and then if I'm on channel 1 on the Keytar, it'll be the same. If I'm on channel 2, however, you'll see on set list, nothing changes. Now I have a lead. And then on channel 3, I'll have a choir. And then if I switch patches again, and it still holds like kind of a patch remain, I have strings. So I've accomplished patch changing on the Keytar without actually changing patches on the Kronos. You may be wondering again why this is convenient, and that is because this you cannot assign patch numbers to this for it to send to Kronos. It only will respond 1 through 32, and it's going to send the corresponding value to the Kronos, and there's no way around it as far as I know. And of course, once you get to the end of 32 patches, you know, you're done. Then you have to start over, and then you have to make new set lists. And, you know, in this particular set, I am using exactly 63 patches, or 64 if you include 0. So I need literally double than what the AX-1 can offer. And, you know, I spend a lot of time on the Kronos as well, and I like to step through, and it would just mess everything up over here, because then when I go up from here, it might actually go down on the Kronos. So this just works out better to just have everything transmitted on a different MIDI channel, and not having anything changed on the Kronos. On AX-7, that's a little different. You can actually assign patch numbers to each button. That's cool. I still don't think it works out as well, but it might work out kind of well. So your mileage may vary on that one. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's really anything else to talk about between these two. And again, when I was talking earlier about the MIDI channels, if your keyboard doesn't have 16 tracks by default in its combination or stack mode, this probably won't make a difference. But if you have anything that's receiving on channel 16, you're gonna have to mute it. Or, you know, if you just use 16 tracks and not have it assigned to channel 16, that would work too. One of the things I do, I'd like to get a smaller MIDI USB cable, but there's some Velcro here on the side, and hey. One of the things I did before I painted it, and I should probably redo, is I had a little strip of metal that I dremeled off of something, and I just put it over here and rubber taped it around. So I have kind of a bad tendency to hit the transpose button while I'm actually trying to hit the octave buttons, so it's just kind of badly placed if you ask me. And, you know, I've actually ended a song on a C, but it actually sounded like a B, and it was a little embarrassing. So since then I actually wrapped it around. I'm probably going to do that again. And yeah, this thing's cool. I like the AX-1. I'm really happy with it. That's pretty much my video. If you guys have a Keytar plus a Kronos or anything really, and you have any questions, just ask. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And just real quick, this gentleman who brought the AX-7 also did bring, because he was having the same problem as that I was describing in the video with the MIDI channels and everything. Well, at least that was the solution, but he was having the hanging note problem and things just weren't working. And he had bought a different wireless MIDI system from a company in San Diego, I believe. And they have it's like a pink unit, or it's purple, I forget. That had the same problem. So I guess this guide may actually apply to any wireless MIDI system you get. And if you're thinking about getting the M-Audio Mid-Air, do yourself a favor and don't. They're terrible, and they can't really go past like 15 or 20 feet. I can get this Keytar into my house and into my bedroom, which is probably a long way away from where I am standing right now, and it still worked, to my surprise. I can run all around the venue with the WIDI, and I like it. The Midi Jet Pro apparently is good too. The reason I don't like it is because of the antenna, and from what I've been reading on the internet, the X8, the CME, actually gets better range. So that's pretty much my video. I think this is the second time I've tried to end it now, so I'm actually going to leave now. I hope you got something out of this, and once again, if you have any questions, feel free to message me. Have a good one.